pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I just want to review how this evening's going to go. I have been in contact with MASB a lot this past week to find out what we can do and what we can't do. So this is this process is what they told us is legal, part of the Open Meeting Act, and what we can do. So we will bring the candidates in. They will have 20 minutes, a 20-minute interview. We can assign questions in a minute. We'll go through, ask them the questions. There will be a timer that will be like behind me, so they're very aware of what time it is. When their 20 minutes is up, if they haven't finished, we'll just say thank you so much. We need to move on to the next candidate. If there's extra time, they, will remove themselves, obviously. Once we're done, I do have to tell you, Julie Conroy regretfully withdrew her application. So we did move Jack Smith up into Julie Conroy's slot. Jack Smith also can't be with us, so he will be participating through the phone, my phone. So we'll call him, he will be on speakerphone. If any of you have a hard time hearing him, we kind of practiced it today and it seemed okay. But we can move the phone around or we can have you move closer. After we are done with all the interviews, I am going to open it up to citizen comments. After citizen comments, I'm going to call on you, we're going to go around the room, and this does have to be in the minutes. You are going to announce your first choice of candidate, just your first choice. After we go through that, we have an opportunity, depending on where we are, to discuss why we chose the candidate that we did, not that you have to, and depending on where we are, we can move into a motion, or we can move into a motion to reduce the pool. So we're at least going to reduce the pool to 6, because there's only 6 of us, and we'll see where we go if we have to keep reducing, or if we move right into a motion. And then we will be adjourned for the evening.
Can the comments only pertain to the candidates?
What do you mean pertain? Like
if
Citizens'
they're on a board
comments.
meeting, they have to be about whatever the agenda
I don't
item
think
is.
it has to be
I don't
because
think
it's
so,
the
'cause
bottom
it's
comment.
kind of the end. So if someone comes and wants to comment about like the boys' basketball game yesterday, I guess they can.
Okay.
So, so yeah, it'll be open to them. Also, we can only ask the questions that are on this form. You can't ask like follow-up questions, but if you ask a question like that's not on here, that like leads to a whole other thing, we need to ask that to every single candidate. So we're gonna stick with the questions on here. I can take number 1. Who would like number 2?
We just want to go this way.
However, I don't.
Why don't we just do 1, 2, why don't we just kind of, do you want to just do that, or do you want to start with 1?
Well, I was going to start with number 1 because I was going to introduce them
Oh,
right
that's fine.
here and have them, like, give them a quick overview of that they have 20 minutes and da da
Yep.
da. And then I'm going to have the timer start.
Well, why don't we
He's
do-
going to start the timer when I
Why don't we
ask the
just
first
say 1
question.
and then jump to Julie, and then
Okay.
just work our way back around?
All right, so Amanda,
Then
you're 2, Julie, you'll be 3,
Oh, okay.
right?
No, I was saying
No.
Julie would be 2, Amanda would be 3, 4, 5, 6.
I thought you might go this way, sorry. So.
We can go either any way, I was just trying to make it simple.
So does everybody know what question we're doing?
Yes, Dave, you're 4.
Because everybody has a question, I'm good.
I'm 5, Chris is 6.
Is everybody okay with that?
And you will always be 4. You will always be 6. Yes.
Yes. That is the case.
Are you gonna ask the following, follow-up
Yeah,
questions?
and then
first?
when we're done with, 6, who then is number 6?
Me,
So when Chris is done, after he's done, then I will ask the next 2 questions about, willing to, complete some board development classes offered by Michigan Association of School Boards. These are just yes or no questions. And then will you run in 2022? I guess the run in 2000, I guess it could be a little bit wordy, but depending on time, my guess is it'll just be yes or no. Any questions? You're good? All right. I'm not sure if the first candidate's here. If anybody, I guess, needs to use the bathroom, now would be the time. I guess the other piece would be only if we, for some reason, came down to 2 candidates and thought we could, and it was getting to be like, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and we wanted to ask them tougher questions and bring them back, we would have to look at doing that next week. We need to have the seat filled by Thursday. So we do have a little bit of time if we wanted to bring 2 or 3 people back, but I'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully we should be wrapping up by 8:20, depending on how long it is and comments come.
Well, I brought a coffee just in case. Extra caffeine.
I was thinking it was gonna take them longer. Adam was like, oh, they'll go right through it. So, we'll see. Hello.
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 It's kind of weird walking into all of us sitting here, but welcome. And that is water for you.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Evening.
hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Good to meet you.
Hey, I'm Nancy. Nice to meet you.
Hi, come here.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie. Nice to meet you.
Go ahead. You can say it.
Okay.
We'll give you a minute. So I'll explain the process and then we'll start with the questions. Our interviews are, we have 6 questions to ask and then we have 2 follow-up questions.
Okay.
When we get started, there'll be a timer behind us for 20 minutes, so just so you're aware of where you're at. If you hit the 20-minute mark and we're still on question 1, then we'll thank you and need to move on to the next person.
I understand.
So you're aware. So that will go behind us. And just making you aware that this is being streamed, live streamed, so there could be people watching, I guess, I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right, you ready? So the first question, we can start the timer. The first question is, provide us a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on this board.
First of all, thank you for inviting me tonight. And I'm interested in the board position because I feel I have a lot to offer in terms of my previous experience in education, nearly 40 years, my community involvement, and I'm a parent. And I know what the parents here are going through in many cases. I feel like I could give a lot of support and a lot of, I think I would be a good asset to the board.
Oh, that would be me. Okay. How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
Well, first of all, I think you have to have a good communication between both parties. And I think you need to support each other and be kept abreast of all of the goings-on between the school, and the board would do the same with the superintendent. And from what I can see, there seems to be a very optimal relationship between the board and the superintendent currently, so I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Well, that's where we are today. Everything's about technology, and I use it a lot myself. I'm an administrator, along with Dr. Lewis, for Spark in the Dark, for our community as well as the entire Lansing area. Back in the day, I was part of the Bill and Melinda Gates at the time Foundation to train superintendents and principals in the use of PDAs, Palm Pilots, which had keyboards with them, to better use assessment on the fly, be able to take it quickly from place to place. But once the smartphone came into being, so much for the Palm Pilots. But that was a 4-year stint, and I got a lot of technology given to me. That's probably sparked my interest. I was already interested in it, but I think that our kids have to know how to use technology in order to survive. And I even say this to classmates of mine from high school, to other people my age, that you have to be in the know in order to. Well, I saw it at Fowlerville at the game Friday night. People didn't know how to use QR codes to get their ticket. They had to learn quickly. So that was a good example, and that was a really good way to get people into QR codes.
What do you anticipate being the top issue or issues facing the Williamston Community Schools during your appointment tenure?
I think a top issue is going to be growth. I see building going on all around us. I just watching social media, a lot of people want to come here. They're looking for housing. I think we're going to be dealing with growth for a while, and it's probably a good thing because the school system has such a high rating and is so well known in the area. I also think that we always have to be aware of special interest groups that want to come and just give their one single interest as their platform. That's not the reason why I want to get on the board. I have a very open mind, and I like to work as a team. So I think you always have to be aware of that because it's happening everywhere.
Hi, Deborah. What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
Been involved in many of those. Well, I think it's really important to get everybody on board. First of all, your staff and faculty and your parents, get them involved in terms of volunteering to help, get everybody educated on what it means. I mean, every time there's a sinking fund, everybody says, what's a sinking fund, right? So I think the biggest challenge is just to educate everybody, make sure everybody understands, and then get everybody on board, and then it usually passes.
How would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board has made recently?
I would thank them for asking me, and then I would ask them if they understood everything involved with that decision and how it might benefit the school system, how students would benefit, and why, and maybe some whys about how we came to that decision. But I would just try to give them as much information as possible because I know then they would share that with their friends, and I want them to have the right information.
The next two questions can just be yes or no questions, or if you want to fill in. Would you be willing to complete some board development classes that are offered by the Michigan Association of School Board Members?
Yes, I already started looking at their classes on board, and I actually got through 2 of them, I think, just sitting in front of my computer, but I'm fascinated by what they have to offer, and I can see where they're a big, big support for every school board in the state. So I definitely, I mean, I'm an ongoing student. I've never stopped learning, so.
And then would you consider or plan on running for the November 22 election?
Yes.
Is everybody all set? Does anybody have any follow-up questions?
I would like to ask everyone if there's anything they'd like to add.
Well, and you have plenty of time. So is there anything that you would like us to know that we didn't ask?
Well, I think I gave you a lot of information about me in my letter of interest and my resume. I've been pretty involved in the community, so I feel that, in fact, I've only mentioned it to a handful of people that I was even applying for this opening, and I've gotten a lot of support already. So I know that that I could be a positive voice for the board.
So our next step is we're interviewing all of our candidates tonight, and then whittling down the pool, and we'll see if we come to an agreement on a candidate, or if we need to ask more in-depth questions and invite you back.
Okay.
I believe probably next week we would need to do that. We do have to have the seat filled by Thursday, next, the 24th, would that be? 24th or 25th, I think is next Thursday. So you will definitely hear from us, depending on what time we get done here. You could hear from us tonight, but by tomorrow with what our next steps are going to be. Okay,
Sounds good.
anything else?
I don't have anything else unless anyone else has any other questions. No?
No? I'm all set. We're all set.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have to ask everyone.
Yeah, but that's a good one. I mean, if we're gonna run out of time, we're gonna run out of time. So if we don't, that's a good one to ask.
Should also keep in mind that anything you write is foiable, so.
Yes.
Totally fine.
It's supposed to be legible?
I know, I do take notes, and it's always, I feel that because I have to look down, and I'm always like, I don't know if anyone can read them anyway, but.
I just always, we didn't remind people about that, but just something to keep in mind.
Yes, we will have to turn in those when we're done. I don't think our next candidate is here. She's supposed to be here at 6:20, so if anybody needed to use the bathroom to get some water. You have.
The next time this comes around, we have to tell them they have to be there 20 minutes early.
I know, I was thinking 10 was pretty
Well,
good.
Betsy asked him to be there 10 minutes early.
10 minutes.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So hopefully
So
that,
that's a.
hopefully that helps move things along.
So the next one should be at 6:10, so. I know, I'm like, Ellen was right, maybe, right, Rita. And the button pilot.
Hmm?
Have your phone on,
I remember those Palm Pilots.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I do too. When she said that, I was like,
With the little stylus, that was.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think I may have like thrown one away like 5 years ago that I found like in a box from like 2002.
My kids have a DS, one of those small, and it had one of those like pens with it, and I
Mhm.
remember those Palm Pilots.
Yep.
We got to do,
I remember having one that was just your Rolodex, like hand Rolodex, like you put people's
Oh, yeah.
card.
Yeah.
We, I used to do some, standardized testing for Pearson. So when they switched over to that, like I got a little Palm Pilot to have to put your information in.
Mhm.
I thought it was so cool. Now I'm sure it would have been easier to write it. Fill in a bubble, but, oh, it was cool.
A friend of mine had a Palm Pilot that had, she had a keyboard that like folded in half, it was thirds. So she would set her little keyboard on the table and her Palm Pilot was
Well,
like,
that's
stuck there.
fancy.
Like, yeah.
That was very slick.
Those were the days.
I do think I would trade my phone for my BlackBerry again though, if I could.
Do you know, that's funny you say that, because Mike says that all the time too. Like, he would do that too. I remember,
It was the perfect way of not taking business home with you as much. I feel like now it's like the work, the BlackBerry,
It's
that
hard
thing.
to escape.
yeah.
Yes, you
That
can't
was-
escape anymore. Everything's like integrated. And it was so much easier to type.
Yeah.
Having a keyboard that the buttons actually push down.
Mike used to say that too, like, when he left his office and would have to drive or fly or wherever he was going, like, it was always like his quiet time, because he couldn't get a hold of anybody, like, no one could get a hold of him. He really had to get kicking and screaming to do that, but, I have a friend who probably just gave up her flip phone maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and was still literally doing the, like, ABC.
The letters.
Yeah, she was really good at it too. She could do it with one hand. She could flip that thing up and be like, and then I'd be like, you sent me a picture. How did you do
But you
that?
only have like 100, isn't it like a certain number of, it used to be.
No, it might have.
Oh, I'm
I don't
sure
even
remember
remember.
it.
Because it would be one of 2 texts that would go through.
Oh, right. I'll let you
Sometimes
ask
they come
her.
too out of order.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so sore. I started working out. I don't know what came over me.
Yeah.
It must be
I
crazy
remember
insane.
being like, what? And she could get pictures on it.
Yeah.
She'd be like,
It
no,
must
I
be
can
my
get a picture.
midlife
And I'm
crisis
like,
or something. It's
I
like
can't
every
even- how do
morning
you see
at the
that?
gym,
Like,
5 days a week.
Really?
Yeah, it's my
So
third
funny.
week. I can't even believe I'm able to walk.
That's good. That's
I've
good.
seen Dave Indish over here on Facebook, like rolling in at like 25 times a week over there at the fitness center. So I was just telling him that I started working out, like in my 3rd week of like every day,
Have you?
5 days a week. But it's not there, it's at
Okay,
State
oh.
of Fitness in Okemos.
Oh,
And
okay.
said I can barely walk.
Yeah,
I'm
but
actually getting to the point of I
the
can walk
stuff that
now.
Dave does is like Hulk stuff. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
this is functional fitness.
Have you seen his wife?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's-
Like,
She's very fit, yes.
First of all, she had very little body weight to begin with. I mean, and so to go in there and do that, she's like,
Like one day when I'm totally by myself, I want to try to do the handstand up against the wall where you can do that thing. Like I'm getting upper body strength, but I've never really had it. But I feel like I want to try it, but I don't want anyone to watch me. I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be.
that is very restrictive. That's a one-on-one session, and you don't want one of those because that is way too much concentration on you. Because then every muscle in your body has to move before they let you move on.
Yeah.
Are you doing yoga, Sarah? Can you ask? Teaching? I don't mean doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yes.
High five?
After spring break, I'll start that.
Okay, yay.
Well, I was so happy Gene Purden's coming to the living studio, but it's like at the exact same time I have a business meeting every week because I loved his, because his was like you could just close your eyes and just do, you didn't even have to look at him because he's so good at
Do you not have
explaining.
it here anymore?
Well, he was doing it up at, no, he never came back here after COVID. And he's been doing it like some outside stuff at some different hours at Williamston Wellness, but I just got his notice that he's going to Living Art Studio. So I hope he extends it. I think he's great.
fun being at the game yesterday, seeing all of the people and seeing the students kind of feel like getting back to a little bit of it.
Bless you.
I hear it was good. I took one for the team. I house sit my mom while my dad went with Tony, and my dad hadn't been to a basketball game in a long time. He was super excited.
Good for you, or good for him.
Although all I hear is Kate complaining about, we could never get people to stand on the track. He was like mad that they had more than one. He's like, we
Probably
never
the
used to
amount of
have.
people, though. We probably had to.
We
had
had
people on the
so
track.
many.
We've had people on the track
I
before.
told him, he's just,
I mean, they got the photo on the website of one of them. I had to take from the
it was
track.
huge yesterday. Jeff sent out that picture and I was like, oh my
It was nice.
gosh.
It was fun.
It's gonna be busy tomorrow. Lansing Catholic's gonna travel well.
Yep.
That, and then the evening of jazz was, had
Uh-huh.
lots of people at it.
Yeah, they raised more money than ever.
Did they raise a lot of money?
Oh, that's awesome. Now, did they open that up to like any online giving that maybe they hadn't did in the past? Because you're able to expand your audience so much more with all this.
Yeah.
It was open in advance of the event.
They started, how long, I mean, granted, we've had COVID, like with COVID, it makes me, like, I forget how many years, but they had done it online probably 2 or 3 years before COVID, but I feel like maybe because of COVID, now that things are happening, we're all really hearing about them. And I think they did a better job advertising it, maybe.
And more people using technology maybe than they had before that
And it was
usually
really
weren't into
easy.
it, but it was a lot of the only way you communicated.
I feel like you can tell that basketball is ending and like spring sports are gonna start to, because I don't think we have ever been in this building for any type of meeting where it has been this quiet.
It's strange.
Yeah, like we always have. It's pretty
It's
erratic.
time to get outside.
Oh yeah, I think my little subdivision's up.
Well, it reminds me, I did feel bad because I saw a robin in the backyard, like literally at like 7 p.m. and then woke up to 4 inches of snow. And all I could think of is that poor robin. I was thinking, what in the
Thought it
heck
was
just
safe.
happened?
welcome. The water is for you.
Okay.
So we have 6 questions to ask, and then we just have like 2 follow-up questions that are yes or no, and then anything else kind of you want to add to wrap it up. We're going to give you 20 minutes for the interview, and there'll be a timer. When I start the first question, there'll be a timer behind us, just so you're aware of where we're at.
Okay.
So you can kind of, I guess, schedule yourself. I can't think of what I'm trying to say.
Pace
but-
myself.
Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to start. Provide a brief summary of why you're interested in serving on the board.
I'm interested, I've actually been interested in serving on the school board since before I had kids. It was something about like kind of giving back to the community, kind of helping shape what the school district looks like. And now that I have 2 kids in the district, I think that's even more important to me now. That's it, kind of in a nutshell.
Hi. How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
An optimal relationship. Well, hopefully one where they get along. I guess I've always looked at it as cooperative, that there should be give and take. I do recognize that the board is sort of the one that is in charge of the superintendent, if I'm remembering that correctly. But you know, I think there has to be balance and compromise. That's what I was looking for. Compromise.
Thank you.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
The use of technology? I think it's important because it's out there, but I also think it's important that kids learn and understand the consequences of technology as well. I think that's something that, you know, I think of the majority of us growing up, we didn't have that. And so now kids that are growing up with all of this at their fingertips, I think it's easy to forget that their brains don't get the long-term consequences of the things that they're posting online. Or even just the amount of time that they're on technology, things like that. So I think it's important, but I think it's important for them to have it, but also important for them to see I wouldn't call it the downsides, but the potential downsides of technology.
What do you anticipate is the top issue or issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your appointment deadline?
I feel like a lot of the like hot button issues have kind of been, I guess, resolved, kind of dealt with. So I think now it's more focusing on probably building up the district and making it better. And I know, you know, one of the board goals was to improve the communication between the parents and community and the board. So I feel like that would be kind of one of the biggest things is achieving that and you know, continuing to work on financial stuff.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
Could you say that again? Sorry.
Yep. What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals
Mhm.
or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
I think that's where educating parents in the community comes in, like making sure that they know, like, what are these for? Where's this money going? Like having that transparency of if this doesn't get passed, here's what we're going to be left with. And if it does get passed, here's what we're going to be able to do with that money. Because I think it's been a while, but I remember being at PTA meetings and like even just the PTA, like it was like, okay, where's this money going, right? Like who's getting this? Like everybody was just wanting like transparency of, you know, what's happening. So I think really kind of trying to use social media, emails, you know, face-to-face if necessary to get people more educated about what do these mean for the schools, what do these mean for kids.
How would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board has recently made?
Like outside of a board meeting?
Mhm.
Okay. I would direct them to contact the board as a whole with their concern, or the superintendent. I would let them know, like, they can read the minutes, you know, whatever's available on that. But other than that, I don't think I'd be able to comment about that. I would let them know that.
Okay. Would you be willing to complete any board development courses offered by the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Mhm.
And if you were appointed to the seat now, would you run for this seat in the November 2022 election?
Yes.
And is there anything else you would like us to know that you either didn't write to us or didn't cover or?
No, I think that's it.
All right. So next steps, would be we're interviewing everybody tonight. Then there will be a discussion. If we come to a consensus, then we'll be notifying individuals. If we need to, if we narrow the pool and need to kind of ask more in-depth questions, then we will schedule those next week. We do need to have this seat filled by, I believe it's March 24th or 25th.
Okay.
So either depending on how late we're here or tomorrow, you will hear from us on what our next steps are.
Okay.
All right?
All right, great.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you applying and
Yep.
coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
just hate the spring. I mean, I love the spring. I hate the spring because it always gives me
Allergies?
this dry throat. And once, I mean, I bought these cough drops like 2 weeks ago because it only happens like every couple of days. You'll just have this cough. You cannot get rid of it. But it won't even numb it for that.
My eyes have been pretty itchy.
Yeah, my eyes haven't been, it's just usually the inhaling of things or, I don't know.
It's really nice to sit on this end of the interviews.
Oh, that's great. This was
I don't feel like it was very long ago.
I know, right?
It was doubly worse for me having.
I looked it up too. It's kind of like on the roller Jackson. And they're playing, they are playing, okay. I knew it was, okay, yeah. And that's to go to school. I believe so. Okay. So my girlfriend's a coach, near Traverse City. She coaches in volleyball. And their games tonight, they win, and they'll be coming. And that's why we were at Breslin, because they'll bring the whole family. So this weekend, so it's nice because NCAA wrestling is being hosted at Full Field. So my husband can get tickets and do it. So it's fine. It's been, I would go because I know a lot of the wrestlers. But my daughter's wrestling. She's been there. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, just look how much basketball they come. Yeah, so they did pretty good last night. I was like, oh yeah, they blew them out.
Yeah, in the very beginning, I think that was 9 that was a turnaround.
Are they like, because I've only seen bits and pieces. Are they like good shooters? Do they run the ball a lot? Or like everything? Yeah, when you could have practices, sometimes it'd be like tough. No, like not a lot, but. I saw it go fast. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people that is yeah, God, I saw so many pictures of him yesterday. Yeah, he was big. That's kind of what it seemed like, so he was so good. I was like, and then the girls, do you know if they have girls? Because I saw their post, their friends from the office as well. But I think they were.
So I assume the process hasn't changed, Nancy, if we can't come to agreement with it, it would be kicked to the.
We can't come to agreement by the 24th or 27th, what the date is. Like, I feel like it might be the
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Adam stepped out. Do you think he wants us to just go? I think we can start, right? Good evening. Thank you for applying for the seat and coming in for the interview today. We have 6 questions to ask you, and then we have 2 yes or no follow-up questions, and then a question that you can add anything that you'd like or that we might not have heard will be at the end. We are going to give you 20 minutes for the interview, so there will be a timer. When I start the first question, there'll be a timer behind me. If you use your 20 minutes on question 1, then we will thank you and count your interview based on what you told us in question 1.
Fair enough.
Okay, I think I hit everything. All right, so provide us a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on the board.
Well, I have 2 kids that attend Williamston schools, one in 8th grade and one in 5th grade. I'm a lifelong educator. I started my career in 2004 as a high school English teacher, and I served in that role for 2 years before teaching college English, and now I'm an administrator in higher education. I have a strong sense for the challenges that students face today, as well as educators, teachers, administrators, and I think it's really important that that this board be fully staffed and that we're doing everything that we possibly can to help students and teachers to do their job as well as they can. So I just want to bring my expertise and my experience to this group and to help in that way.
Hi.
Hi.
How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
Collaborative. I think that the superintendent is in a position to set a vision, and the board needs to try to execute that vision as long as it's in the best interest of students and educators. It's sometimes a fine balance, but this is a group that has to collaborate.
Thank you.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Well, so I'm going to speak a little bit from the perspective of higher ed, where I'm working now, and I think it's incredibly important that students that leave secondary education and enter the college realm are well-versed in technology and able to manage their day-to-day tasks, the expectations placed on a student. Technology has to be interwoven in order to make sure a student is ready for that environment. But I think it would be a mistake to say that that starts in high school. I've seen, my children are getting pretty good at technology at even younger ages than I would have expected. It's unavoidable, it's a part of their life. And so I'd like to see our education continue to utilize technology to the benefit of students and develop those skills that they're going to need going forward.
What would you anticipate as the top issue or issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your appointment time?
Well, it's a short appointment time. Hopefully nothing too severe, but I can certainly see that we're a town that's like so many others in that we do get swept up in the hot issue of the moment. I think that whether it's that or just the regular let's keep the lights on and the buses running and everything funded, communication is my answer to that question. It's key that we listen, that we hear what the community is telling us, and that we develop and execute policy that is in the best interest of students and educators, and clearly communicate that.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
Could you just repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a long one. What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
I think I would go with the board on whatever decision was made. I'm a personable guy. If I need to drum up support for something, I'm certainly able to do that, but I'm not looking to rock the boat either in the short time I would be here. So whatever the group decides to do, I would certainly do my best to be on board with that.
Hey, Chris, how would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board has recently made?
I try to listen more than I speak. I think it's important that if somebody approaches you, they want to be heard, and you take the opportunity to listen, knowing, of course, that passing somebody on the street may not be the right forum. I can't necessarily tell you what you want to hear right now. Generally speaking, in similar circumstances in the past, it's been helpful for me to be able to say without hesitation, I've voted my conscience and I feel confident and I can sleep at night knowing that I did what I believe is best for the town and for the schools.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you be willing to complete any board development courses offered through the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome, actually.
And if you were appointed to the seat, would you consider running in the November 2022 election?
Yes, I would consider it. That's a decision that's a long way off, and I have a lot to learn before I would fully commit to that, but I absolutely would consider it, yes.
And then is there anything else you'd like us to know about you or that you'd like to tell us that we haven't asked or that you haven't put in your application?
Really, it's all there in the application. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions about anything that I wrote there. I just think that this is a great opportunity to fill a void that came up somewhat suddenly and just make sure that this board is able to operate at peak efficiency.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm going kind of fast. I got a lot of time left.
No, you're fine. You're doing great.
Okay.
So next steps, we are interviewing all the candidates tonight, and then we'll have some discussion. If we can come to an agreement on a candidate tonight, you'll be notified. Or if we need to narrow the pool and bring candidates back to ask more in-depth questions, you'll be notified of that too. So if you don't hear from us tonight, depending on how late we're here, look for something tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, an email or something tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
That's great. Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
very
coming
much.
in.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it.
No problem.
The space in between.
Adam was right. We just put them right through 'em.
Guess we needed more questions.
Yeah, you need to use the restroom or whatever, go.
Julian, that's gonna come off the list.
Unfortunately, not.
Yes.
I was gonna ask when, do they start next week?
Tryouts were yesterday, and they started yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah. So unfortunately not. Kind of bittersweet.
yeah.
She's been playing since before preschool, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Our next applicant is here, so.
Okay, yeah, we're just waiting on Dave. He just stepped
Just
out for a
waiting on
minute.
Dave,
Yep.
okay, fine.
Do you think we should text Taylor, should we call her, text Taylor or Marcy and ask them to come earlier? I mean, if she's here and if we start, we'll be done.
We'll be sitting here.
We'll be sitting here for 40 minutes waiting
Adam's
for
not
it.
We could have Betsy.
You could have- Yeah, I could ask Betsy to step out and call and ask if they would be willing to come earlier.
Yeah, because we could,
And
Jack's at 7:40, so we might have everybody done by Jack's call.
Jack could be the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved him up. I think I said it before, Julie, but those glasses are just really flattering.
Oh,
With
thank
Jack,
you.
how are we?
Thank you very much. I was so nervous
how are we
buying
making
these
sure
during
that he
COVID,
can
'cause usually
hear
I
our
take somebody
questions?
with me and you
I'm
couldn't.
probably
So
gonna
I
ask
was
them
like,
all.
right?
it's just
And
me and the
then
lady in
we
front of
did
me
a
and she's
practice
like,
run.
I like him. And I was like,
And,
they're so different. I don't know.
Like
But
Adam was sitting there, she was up there, and Adam.
I do like picking ones that are a
If there
little
is an
different.
issue
But
with hearing, then I'm gonna tell people that they can move forward.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
looks like Adam's gonna do that.
Yeah, she's gonna take care of it. Good. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for starting early. We have been whipping through this faster than
good.
I anticipated. So
Well, thank you for having me.
And coming in. So we have 6 questions that we will ask you.
Okay.
We have 2 follow-up questions after that can be yes or no questions if you want to add a little bit, depending on the information that you have left.
Okay.
We're giving you a 20 minutes to complete the interview, and there will be a timer that will show up behind me, just so you're aware, and I don't have to give you any, like, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or anything like that.
All right, that
Okay?
sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So, first question. Provide a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on the board.
Well, I've had children go through the school system. I'm a mom of 3 kids that have graduated, so I've had, it's been 20 years since my kids started here. And I've also got a high school student and a student in Explorer Elementary. And I've seen great things about our school. I'm so happy to be in the community. I've seen changes, how things have evolved as they've gone through, and it's exciting. And now that I don't have little kids at home, I'm excited to have more time to do something like this. And I'm hands-on, so I like to be involved with my kids in the community.
Thank you.
How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
I think that great communication. I think that they need to work together. I think it is, working together. I wrote some notes. Communication, like, we obviously want the students to succeed overall. That would be the most important thing, but definitely working together, being the board backing up the superintendent, and I think it's important to have good communication, especially, and good support.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
I think it's important. Whatever we do, we need technology, and it's ever evolving. I also think that we need to be careful, though, especially with high school, with all the kids, I guess, because there's so many kids that are on social media or whatever can be found on technology. So I think it can be a great tool, but it can also be not great as far as mental health. That scares me. I think about my son when he was, he didn't have the best handwriting, and so his teacher in elementary said, well, with technology, they're always gonna type, and I was like, well, that is good, but I think it's good to also be able to go back to old school things. So I think that, technology's great, we're gonna need it, and it's obviously something that will always be something we need, but the mental health aspect is kind of something we need to keep in mind and think about.
So what do you anticipate are the top issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your tenure?
During the appointment,
During your tenure?
I would say getting people, our schools are very good as far as how the education, our education is great, so keeping that relevant, keeping up with the times, keeping current with things. So making sure that we keep students here, and I know we have a lot of school of choice kids, so making sure, and also getting kids in the district to keep coming here and not leaving. So whatever it would be to keep students in here, gosh, I guess listening to the community for what they have as far as input of what they would want, so that we make sure that that's here, so we keep our students here. And we continue to grow for as good as education, continue our education to grow and evolve with how the world is going.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
I guess I would want to investigate and what that is, educate people about what the millage is being used for, being a good advocate for what it is that we want, because it's funds for the school, so we want to make sure the community knows what the funds are going for, what the millage is being used for, and I think that really working together to get those passed so that we can offer the students what they deserve and what the school needs, what the teachers need.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
How would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board made recently?
Well, I guess I would want to spend some time, make sure that they know that whatever their concerns are, that I'm listening and that I care, that we care. Invite them to board meetings and to listen to what's going on. I guess I would talk to them about their concerns and say, while I can't change anything, I could bring it up. Not everybody is 100% correct. Not every, I guess I'd be wanting to know what their concerns were and try to explain maybe some of our reasonings, talk to the board members, have them maybe watch, if they weren't able to see the board meeting, maybe they could watch and see what was decided, why the decision was made. I guess. Because I wouldn't be able to change it, but I would try to, be helpful and cognizant to what their concerns are.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing, if you got this seat, to complete some board development courses offered by the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
If you are appointed, would your intent be to run for this board seat in November of 2022?
Yes, I would love to.
And is there anything else that you would like us to know, or that you would like to add, or something we didn't ask you?
Well, I know I put in my application that I have a degree in science of nutrition, so I would love to, I see what my son's eating for lunch, and I would love to be able to find maybe do a committee of some sort to investigate how we can maybe healthify our lunches. If they're, it would be awesome to be able to do that. Maybe work with how we can get fresher fruits and vegetables. I know that there's some things he'll tell me he had, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. He's happy, but it'd be nice to be able to use my degree for that. I would love to do that. So trying, just using the knowledge I have and the degree I have to be able to do that. I would love to bring that in. I love Williamston schools. I would love to be a part of the school board. Like I said, I've got 5 kids either here or have gone through, so it's exciting to me. I would love to be able to be on the board, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next steps is
Yeah.
we're interviewing everybody today.
Yeah.
We'll do some deliberation and discussion. If we can come to an agreement on where we stand on that, then we will let you know. If we need to bring some individuals back to maybe dig into some deeper questions, we'll probably do that next week.
Okay.
We do need to have the seat filled by either the 24th or 25th of March. I'm not exact on the date. I have to look that up. But if you don't hear from us tonight, depending on how late we're here, you'll hear something tomorrow on what our next steps will be.
All right. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
I appreciate
much.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was able to reach our other 2 candidates, the 2 that are coming in, and they're going to come early.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hatz is our next person, so he was almost getting into his car to come anyway, so as soon as he arrives.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nancy, I have the date as the 25th. I haven't filled.
So it has to be filled by the 25th. So someone needs to take the oath by the 25th, correct? Or do they have to take the oath by the 24th and sitting in the seat the 25th?
Let's go with that, just to be sure.
Good.
But, yeah, there's nothing
You thought
wrong-
you had the right answer, didn't you?
Nothing wrong with the 24th. Call it the 24th.
Yeah, so that's right.
Till Nancy got a hold of it.
24th. So we
Twisted
really
it.
want someone to take the oath on the 24th, so they're
Thursday,
sitting in
yeah.
the seat on the 25th.
Okay. I think that would be
Yeah, that would be our, that is our goal.
It's my cousin. Yeah, I had a really big family, and we were all very close, and like she was one of the closest. Joey. Yeah. Yeah, so, my husband plays, she got 2 daughters, but you can't play with her. He grew up between Florida, New Jersey, a lot, and then Michigan and Florida. So his dad was a Army horse race, so it was Florida and then New Jersey, so when he got out of there, his dad coached at Hillsdale College, and then his mom stayed back and forth, and then in high school, he moved with his dad and brothers. So his mom is still in Ocala. About 4 hours away, so his family's very close. His mom is married, but got with another woman where his dad comes on both in South Florida. And so Blaze lived with them a lot. He had 2 kids, there's 5 kids, it was just a house full. Eventually, they got married. So my husband grew up with his stepdad. And their kids, his mom and his brother. But then while we were living down there, about 9 years ago, he was divorced. She had always lived in Ocala. She lived up there all the time, and she had this business in Boca. And then we go up on the weekends to the farm. So we got to know it was messy, and I worked for his stepdad. And his brother was very close to us, and had to do his hands in too. We did everything together, and she was at the farm, and she wanted us to choose. And wanted to know what we were. When we were little kids, and Papa, we wanted to have to get anything. So we were to 7 times to yeah. It was, she went to the doctors for a couple of years, and it was, she said, the one on the right, but she's like 2 years older than I am. She's got big. I know, right? Yeah, when I saw that, I thought, yeah, gosh, like.
Dave, when are you typically going up to work?
free.
Sorry?
When are you typically going up to work? 5 p.m.?
Oh, the foot thing?
Yeah.
It's not open at 5 p.m.
I saw that too, and I didn't look down.
I
Now
was thinking,
get it.
this isn't gonna work really, and I was like.
You go to what?
This actually worked pretty well.
Well, actually, no, it's
Oh, I thought you were going up here. I'm like, it's not open at 5 a.m.
I have not seen them yet, so I was like,
Yeah, but I
I need to get out.
Yeah,
I don't cook.
with Nathan.
I don't cook, so I'm always going to someplace looking for dinner.
Yeah, I figured I'd be like one of two.
Well, now with the price of inflation, it's probably coming out ahead if you choose to buy something versus buying it and cooking at home.
Are you going there
Yeah,
too?
it's crazy.
The restaurants are a little bit slower
okay.
to come with the increases. I have seen, a couple Facebook posts recently of like, we have to increase our prices, but it's still.
See, Juliana is like, I want to go have a membership at F45. And I'm like, you realize that's $200 a month,
You
right?
gonna go to the game tomorrow?
Yes. Yes,
That's where,
we are, so.
That's where
Super
Mr. B,
excited.
the math teacher here, he's a coach there. It's
I think I know the owner.
over at,
I mean, I
it's
can't.
over in East Lansing.
I mean, I think we should beat LCC.
It's.
I haven't seen LCC actually play yet. I've not, they put up
Intense
scores and I see them, but I.
circuit,
It just
type
seems-
of training.
For sure.
You know,
We used to be in a
16
higher division or a lower
stations,
division.
lots of music.
We used to be in the same
You know,
conference. and
you
every-
move in stations every,
years ago.
like 2 minutes.
But we still playing.
I'm sitting here thinking, when was
It's
the
high
last time we played
intensity.
a Catholic in a region?
But I'm like,
Like usually we're like,
We played in the girls'
I'm like,
district.
I mean, even students, but,
Championship last year.
I know,
Played them.
and even for students, it's
And then
150.
we played them as a non-conference game. Summer this year.
because I'm sitting here, I'm like, where's the Benny Harbors? Like it seems like
Oh,
everything is
they're out
totally
there.
moved.
Benton Harbor's out there.
Yeah.
But I think they're in the.
Yeah, but it's hard to
Yeah.
pass
I think they're
up
in a
the
different-
equipment here that's free.
I was just
I don't think
thinking,
we'll-
I
I
feel
told
like
her
we
the same.
moved down, but
but-
still stayed
but-
with our size of attendance or something, so I was like, why did we move down? Not that I'm complaining.
Well, no, we're still,
Well,
we're still
and
Division Two.
there's no one else that she
Division Two
knows
seems to
there.
fluctuate. Like, so you have schools.
Or very few.
Division Two, which is shocking to me.
that are spending
That's
that
why I
much
was
money.
like,
So.
I was like,
I
when
think
have
there's
we
a.
ever played
there's-
like
I think
when
Division Two is a
typically
pretty
we go
good
up
wide
here
Stockbridge
range.
in
all
LCC for regional,
guys,
or, within our
football
district and region,
guys,
usually we're,
wrestling guys.
playing.
And not a lot of
There's
some bigger
there's some bigger
schools.
schools too. And so I think it's just a really wide range.
So we will have to see who are. But what do we have, 4 games to go to states? But our
They
4,
gotta go.
we have to win this, we have to
4 to
win
go
3
the
more
whole way.
games to states.
Yeah, the finals would be 3
One
more.
game
Oh, yeah.
at a time,
Yeah,
one game at a
Yeah,
time.
yeah. We've been here before.
Barbell.
I'm just so
Barbell
happy that I
club,
don't
whatever
have,
it's
that I
called.
could plan my spring break without having to worry about this.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm on that plane regardless, and I'll be watching from
That's true. Yeah.
a restaurant. We could finally fly to Florida instead of driving, because we never wanted to get a plane ticket, never knowing where we would be,
That's true, yeah. That's true.
See, you've done this a few times the last few years too. Do you know they always have the same number of pieces?
Typically, we usually have 6, and then everybody has one. And then we've added then just some of the yes or no questions people wanted. And then,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, just to get an idea. And then everybody could be on and then
Don't forget the musical is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I got an email with the video.
Mhm. Yeah, I got that today as well. I saw my daughter in it, in the background.
I love the looks closely.
She's in a number of the scenes, kind of dancing in the background. It's a long week for them this week. This tech week is crazy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you for coming early.
Hope it was actually early, maybe 2 minutes.
That's okay.
It's better than nothing, so we appreciate it. So we have 6 questions that we're gonna ask you. We have 2 follow-up questions that are just kind of could be yes or no. And then we do have another question if there is time permitting. We have 20 minutes set on a timer that will be behind me, just so you're aware of the interview. Once you hit your 20 minutes, we will take where we're at and stop the interview and move on to the next candidate.
Very good.
Okay. You ready? All right, so can you provide us a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on this board?
I think that it's maybe one of the most valuable things I can do for volunteer service. My children were joining the school district. I have 3 sons. My oldest son is in Little Hornets now. My wife and I extensively looked at what schools we wanted to be in. My wife attended Dansville. I went to Mason. When I was younger, I went to parochial Lutheran school, so it's very important to me. I thought that's very much what I wanted to do with my children. And then as we moved to Williamston, really my wife laid out the case for Williamston Public Schools to me. I see the goals that are listed for the school board itself, and I mean that's almost the most encouraging part of the entire job, because when I read the goals, it seemed very focused on the students, developing students that are ready to contribute to the community upon graduation, and there was a dedication to the evaluation of students and feedback, the feedback loop. And so, yeah, students are not to be lost. No member of the community is. And so it seems very evident to me that Williamston Community Schools is there to make sure that the students are taught and then have a correction loop for any help that they need, subsequent help beyond what's in the classroom.
Hi, Taylor. How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
Number one word is availability. I mean, I'm available to you. You would like to speak with me, you can call me and email me. Because it's a priority and I choose to make it a priority, to have access to my time. Obviously that's superseded only by my family, but yeah, optimal relationship is availability and open communication. I think keyword also is transparency. I'm a man that conducts myself with integrity, so what I say is what I'm going to do. If anything can be done, it's going to be evident why, but all I can do is be available, transparent, and plus I'm going to be a worker for you. My entire life in business, I mean, we're here to get things done. We're here to get things done in the right way, to serve the interests of the wider group, to make sure the entire group is heard, so that's going to be my job.
Thank you.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Well, let me think. So I think to myself that when we look at nature, I think that it's natural for human beings to want to use technology, because I think that we are made in the image of something that is a creator, so I think it's within mankind to be a creator. So technology seems to be the natural outcome of that. I think that children should use it. I mean, it shouldn't be at the cost of their social development, absolutely. I think it should be done with the consent of the parents. As it comes to a matter of resources, I mean, not every family can provide maybe the high end of what's needed for every child, so no families can be left behind. So it'd be the duty of this body to make sure that those people are adequately funded. And I think, I would assume before entering into this board that those funds are likely available. So it's just a matter of making sure that everybody has what they need, and I see no opposition to it as long as the parents consent.
What do you anticipate as the top issue or issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your appointment tenure?
Well, what do I anticipate as a top issue? I would say likely funding. I mean, funding is, although that may be a little bit boring, right? We're all responsible for our own personal finance and our budgets within our homes. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed every day. Things need to be on time. Things need to be in budget. So, do I think that that's like going to be an issue, that there's a deficit in upon my arrival? I would say no, but I do think it's something that needs to be actively managed. So, there's many other issues, but probably the stewardship and custodian responsibilities of the budget are paramount.
Hi, Taylor. What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
Informing the body that would be paying them. I would think that, number one, I need to inform myself, fully understand the matter, review with my colleagues, that we all have a shared understanding. If people want to raise questions that need to be raised, I need to, as a good partner, understand the questions and concerns for everybody that we're working with. But in order to require the consent of a larger body politic, we'd have to inform ourselves and inform those that are involved and directly affected. So the management of information would be the title line.
Hi, Taylor. How would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board had made recently?
Well, I think that would absolutely not be unexpected. So if I was perhaps outside of a school setting, in a social setting, in a grocery store, or something like that, they'd like to air out an issue with me. Number one, I'm going to hear them because I'm at their service. So whether we're on the opposite side of the issue or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're here to serve these people because I'm one of these people. So number one, let them know that they're heard. Now, not everybody can get their way. So now I think that there is a means and a vehicle to publish a decision that's made by this group here. So it's my responsibility to be a part of this group, be a part of the decision-making process, make sure that the community is aware. But certainly, I mean, we work for these people. It's not unexpected that they would ask in any unexpected moment. Rationale behind a decision. I mean, it's absolutely paramount that we don't show division within this board to say, oh, I voted this way, this person voted this way. I mean, but believe me, I have the fortitude to get through things like that. I deal with it every single day.
Thank you.
Ready for us too. Would you be willing, if you were elected to the seat or appointed to the seat, would you be willing to complete board development courses offered by the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Yes, I'd welcome it. Absolutely.
Do you intend to run for this seat if appointed in the November 2022 election?
I mean, ideally, I join this. I'm attempting to join now because that is my desire. Yeah, I would see no blocking point to that.
And then, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us? Maybe something we didn't ask you, something that wasn't in your resume that you'd like us to know?
Yeah, I actually wrote my letter to you and didn't reflect any of my higher education. I guess I am a college graduate. Should have said that in my letter. Yeah, I was born in Lansing, Michigan. Just simply my story, quick background on my CV is that I was born in Lansing, Michigan. I attended Lansing Community College, received an associate's degree there. Went on to complete my undergraduate degree with Grand Valley State. Entered the professional field, served there for roughly 8 years, and then completed my master's degree at Michigan State University. As I said, I have the responsibility, I have profit and loss responsibility for $160 million of revenue annually. I am directly responsible for program management teams in Italy, Brazil, and China. I have commercial negotiation responsibility in South America, Argentina, Brazil, Korea, China, United States. I guess all that means is that very much so I understand what it is to work in a program team, to delegate tasks, to make sure that my people are on task, and that I'm performing and delivering at a high level. And I would say that in my career I've certainly lost things, certainly have not met up or measured up at times, but I would say that I've experienced a high degree of success in the business field in my life. And that only comes through really having the heart of a servant. And quite honestly, I know it's a requirement. I have a passion for language. I achieved my A1 in Hochdeutsch from Goethe Institute, which is the academy in Munich, Germany, under the Bundeswehr, which is the political arm of the German government. So I could work there in Switzerland. Ultimately, my path didn't take me down that way, but I guess I only bring it up to show an elective pursuit of new educational endeavors. I'm a husband of 7 years. I'm a father to 3 sons. I'm a son myself and a brother. Yeah. Essentially that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next steps is we're interviewing everybody tonight,
Mhm.
and then we will have discussion. If we can narrow the candidates down or choose a candidate, we will let individuals know today or tomorrow. If we need to bring candidates back from a narrowed pool to ask more pretty in-depth questions, if we didn't feel like we got enough, we'll probably do that next week. We want to have someone in this seat by March 24th. So if, depending on how late we're here tonight, you might hear something tonight or you'll hear something tomorrow of what our next steps are going to be.
Very good. How many candidates are in the pool?
There were 8 and then 1 declined. So right now there
Clear
are
to me.
7.
Very good. Well, I think this is very exciting, so I really hope to hear from you all. And
Thank you.
at your service always. Call me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Yep, you too.
today?
No.
No.
Nope.
I don't think
we do not.
anybody is trained.
Okay.
Thank you. Wasn't sure.
No one uses it.
Welcome. Thank you
Hello.
for coming early. We
Yes.
appreciate it. We've kind of moved through our candidates a little faster than we thought. We have 6 questions that we'll ask you.
Okay.
We have 2 then follow-up questions at the end that could just be yes or no questions. And then we have another question depending on time that's at the end.
Okay.
The interviews are 20 minutes, so there'll be a timer behind me so you can kind of gauge of where you're at and where you're going.
All right. Thanks.
Ready?
Ready?
All right, so provide us a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on this board.
Well, I have worked for the state of Michigan for over 25 years. And in my career, I've pretty much, children has been the center of that. I worked with juvenile felons trying to rehabilitate them to come back out into society. I worked projects where we got Medicaid for all the children in the entire state of Michigan, processed them very quickly. They were way behind, called me up, and me and a crew went in. We got the Medicaid started for all those children. I currently work on a project with disabled children, and they are severely disabled children, a special waiver program. The parents, these kids would normally be in a long-term care facility to save the state costs. The parents take care of them at home. So my job is to help both the parents and the child by making that path really easy for them. I am the mission leader we've went to Guatemala for 13 years. Actually, we had just came back on February 28th when COVID hit. Thank God we got home because, I don't know, I was staying over there, but, and that was centered around children, feeding programs, building houses for orphans. It was all about widows and orphans over there. I'm also a union steward for the state of Michigan and have been for years. And I find doing that job a lot of pleasure in trying to reach an agreement, which I feel that would be a lot of what this would be, trying to reach an agreement, all be on one page, see things from other people's views, and try to reach, all try to get along and coexist with each other in a good way. So with this board position, I graduated Williamston, my children, I now have grandchildren. I've lived here, we moved here from Detroit, I've been here for over 45 years. And I just think that I would love to be a part of this.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
How would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
Well, I think that there should be a shared vision between the board and the superintendent. Ultimately, I think that should revolve around the children, number one. But I think being cohesive with each other and trying to establish the same goals would be very important.
Thank you.
What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Well, I think that it's essential. We need to learn it, with where we're at in society. It's essential to learn it and expand on it and develop it. I also feel that being my age, that, we kind of can go back to the old ways as well, where these kids not just Google something, it's in their mind long enough to write it. We need some retention. So I think that there's a happy balance between, again, learning, we have to stay up with the times with the technology, but not looking so much toward technology where the children just sit on the phone or the computer and there's no more of the old down-to-earth values left. So it's very important, but it needs to be put in its place, I guess.
What would you anticipate as the top issue or issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your reflection?
Well, I think number one, in my opinion, would be safety and security of our children. I think in this world and society that we're in right now, it's a dangerous time like none ever before. So to me, in my opinion, that is our number one issue. I think mental health is another one, and especially since COVID, again, working for the state and with the Department of Community Health, the suicidal rates and just some of the damage, not all COVID related, there always was that. I think COVID kind of accelerated that quite a bit. And other than that, again, keep making sure that our children are our top priority. That we need to always keep that focus. What is best for them needs to always be at the front of the line with us.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
What approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if applicable now or in the future?
Well, I think that we need to educate the people in our community on what's best for the children and best for our community and the schools. We also, just as importantly, need to be transparent with our, giving a voice to the community. I think that they should have a voice and be able to express their concerns and their needs and their views on that.
Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
How would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board has made recently?
Well, I think that would depend on what the topic is. If it's a hot topic and we're standing in the middle of D&W, but if it's something, if it's a community member congratulating us or approving of something, I would love to, just say thank you, we're doing the best we can do. If it's something that is a hot topic and maybe there is frustration or anger, I would just recommend for them to come and let their voice be heard. Come to a board meeting and voice their concerns here and bring that to us in a more professional setting than possibly the gas station or D&W.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so if you were appointed to this seat, would you be willing to complete some board development courses offered by the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Absolutely, I would, yes.
And if you were appointed to this seat, would it be your intent to run for the board seat in November 2022 election?
Absolutely,
I want to
yes.
keep saying 2023. I don't know why. Is there anything that we haven't asked you or that wasn't in your
Paperwork.
in your point that you would like to tell us? Anything that you would like to add or let us know?
I'd actually, a couple things. I am on, as I stated, the Locke Township Board, and I've already made them aware that this is where my heart is at the moment. I've been on there for 2 years. We're going on my way till 3 years. I'm also on the Planning Commission for Locke Township. And they know that if I was to be appointed, that I would be resigning from those positions, and they are well aware of that, if I had to. If I didn't have to, that'd be another story, but I think I have to. The other thing I would like to say is that I sent some letters of recommendation in, reference letters, whatever you want to call them, from my director from the state of Michigan, also from Dorothy Hart, who is the supervisor of Locke Township and has been with the township board for, I think, the 43 years I've been here. She has been there. And I'm saying that to say that also Jill Cutshaw, who is the treasurer for Williamston Township, also wrote me a letter. And I'm not in any way saying that braggadocious or anything like that. I say that to say that they, I don't think, would put their reputation on the line to write me something if they didn't feel that I could do the job. They know my, I've taken Jill to Guatemala before. They know me very well, and they know what I stand for and ethically what I am. And they had no problem whatsoever offering to write a letter of reference for this position for me. So I just would hope that, we would take a look at that and make sure that their views are being taken seriously, because they're in this community as well. So they've been a big part of it their whole lives. So, and I appreciate the time that you guys have, and that you called me for the interview and given me the time to tell you a little bit about me. rather than standing behind that podium. Yeah.
So next steps is we are interviewing all the candidates tonight, and then we will have some discussion. If we can narrow the pool down, or choose a candidate tonight, we will. We do have to have someone in the seat by March 24th. So if we narrow the pool and want to bring, or feel that we need to bring some candidates back to have, like, dig deeper into questions or something, we will let you know. Depending on how late we are here tonight, you'll hear from us at least by tomorrow, if not by tonight, on what our next steps are going to be.
Sure, okay, sounds great.
All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, and thank you for coming early.
Absolutely, yes. Hopefully you guys get home before too much later.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's see your tech skills, Nancy.
I know, I feel like we can, do you have a number that we can call for him, right?
And he said he would be ready at 7:30, so.
All right, perfect.
Oh,
Great.
So we did practice this earlier, and I'm gonna put it here, and if we get too much feedback, then we can turn that down. It did seem to work. Adam, said he could hear just fine, but if you can't, we can move forward, and I do believe that the speakers are facing that way so that people in the audience should not have a problem.
And Nancy, are you going to be?
And then I can just ask the questions
Yeah.
just to make sure he hears them. But please let me know if you can't hear, like, please feel free to come up, or come up. I don't have my glasses on.
Hello,
Hi, Jack, this is Nancy Deal from the Williamston School Board.
how are you?
I am good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, can you guys all hear him?
I can.
Good? All right, so, Jack, I want to let you know we have 6 questions to ask you and then 2 follow-up questions. I'm going to ask them all just because I'm sitting right here to make sure that you can hear them.
Okay.
We are giving each candidate, even though no candidate has used this amount of time, but you can, 20 minutes for each interview. So you will have 20 minutes. The time will start when I start the first question. So I'm not sure if you have something that you want to set up as a timer, or if you just want to go.
I'll just go and keep my responses short.
Okay, so I'm going to start. The first question is, provide us a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on this board.
Well, let's see. I would not know about the vacant position had not some friends of mine on my street with children in the system alerted me to the vacancy and encouraged me to consider. So I've always been interested in the health of our schools. As I said in my statement, I live directly in the life of the school because there's so much traffic of children and cars up and down my street. Even if I weren't an educator, I would be thinking about our schools. But the reason why I elected to indicate interest in serving in this limited amount of time between now and the end of the calendar year is that I will be completely retired from my faculty position on May 15th and already have a much more flexibility with my schedule. So this looked like a time where I could see if this was a way that I could serve the community by taking a look at the work for a relatively short period. But I've always been interested in supporting local public education. It's the most important top-level goal in my life as an educator is to support high-quality public education. So I'll stop there.
Okay, and I'm taking some notes a little bit just to remind myself, so if there's a big pause, I'm still writing.
I won't think that I've said something awful.
Okay. Next question, how would you describe an optimal relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
Wow. I have some arm's length experience of the relationship between not superintendents but CEOs and boards through my wife's work experience. I'd say my stance coming in, or my view coming in, is that we want a situation where not necessarily all the time the board and the superintendent agree, but there is a spirit of leaning towards support and also a willingness to raise questions and have them be addressed. So I don't know how the recent board superintendent relations have gone. I have a lot of respect for the current superintendent. I expect that I may disagree at times, but I think ideally it would be one of listening out of a sense of respect and leaning towards support.
All right. Okay, what are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Wow. We've talked for a long time about that. I think I'd like to say at the top, maybe it's the point at which we are coming out of the COVID experience, I hope, if we don't get another variant. I know that we have become much more reliant in the last 2 years on video conference and digital technologies to advance our education, to pursue our education. My sense is particularly at the lower grades that classroom experience is really important, both for academic as well as socio-emotional learning or development. I would call it development. But I think technology can be used in really powerful ways to enhance what for most students is the primary in-school face-to-face experience. I like to think of the classroom experience as always being led by the most thoughtful, engaged teacher. I know it's possible to get less than that, but that's always my benchmark. So I want quality teachers in the classroom who are thinking about their kids' learning needs all the time. And I think I would say both in school with technology and also in terms of supporting kids learning via technology away from school hours, those are important, but I see them as building around the core experience in person.
Okay. What do you anticipate as the top issue or issues facing Williamston Community Schools during your appointment tenure?
Well, I'd like to think that the way was smooth to re-enter more or less what we have been calling normal face-to-face operations. So if not for the balance of the school year, certainly for the launch of the fall academic year 2022. I think the greatest challenge is to support and even more actively than before our very best teachers. I think this has been a horrible 2 years for many teachers and across the board. I hope that it's not happening as much in Williamston. I know it's happening across the state. Folks who have been in the business for some time are retiring earlier than they might, and I don't think our colleges of education are attracting the high quality of candidate that we need. I think it's we need to do a lot to support our existing teachers and make teaching look like the profession, the rewarding profession that it can be. So I think holding and building our staff will be a big challenge. Maybe not in the short tenure that I have, but I would say certainly the beginning of this academic year, if we can enter and resume face-to-face operations, holding and supporting our existing staff is really the one big challenge. I think we have the cultural challenges as well, particularly around literature and social studies in terms of what is a robust curriculum. There are hot button issues for sure. I certainly hope that we can work through those. But I think those are the two that come to mind that I think of as large in the period of time from now until November or December 2022.
What approach would you take to help passing a millage renewal or a Headley override elections?
In terms of supporting a millage request?
Yeah, how would we, yes. So what approach would you take to helping pass millage renewals or Headley override elections, if we have any of those coming up in the future?
I think the goal that we would all agree is to help people understand the need for the financial resource and why existing resources are looking insufficient. How we communicate that is a tough one. I would certainly think that all of the board members would be thinking about and willing to engage in work to communicate with the community about that. I think it's a very tough issue to get the discussion beyond, oh, they want more money from us. But I can't say that I have an approach. I would say that I would use and would advocate the use of all means of communicating the need and the purpose and thinking through that and looking for how to do that in a range of media options, face-to-face, print. But I think it's a tough nut.
And how would you respond to a community member who approached you regarding the rationale for a decision the board has made recently?
Well, I guess the first thing that would come to mind would be making sure that the decision that the board came to was the decision that the community member had in mind. So let's just assume, I think sometimes we jump over that. There's a need for making sure that we're talking about the same thing. That would be the first step. The second step would be to try to understand as best I could where the community member felt like the concern lay, why that person felt like that decision was a misstep. I think it's sometimes possible to respond once one learns what the nature of the concern is, but sometimes not. There could be still remaining objection. And I think I would try as best I could, and I think it would be good board practice in general, if the decision was understood and there were still objections to it, that I would want to come back to that person on a regular basis through the course of my term or the term of the board, and see if it's possible to bring that objecting person more on board with what the board is trying to do. It may be an irreconcilable difference, but I do believe in working at common ground, and begins with understanding the person's concern, but working toward making sure that they feel heard and possibly coming to a different position where they started relative to their objection, perhaps coming on board, if not actively supporting, then modestly supporting or quietly supporting, or not fully objecting as much as they did before to the board decision.
All right. All right, so the next two can just be yes or no questions, unless you have a little bit to follow up. But are you willing, if you're appointed to this seat, are you willing to complete board development courses offered by the Michigan Association of School Boards?
Yes, when I contacted you about what would be required of this position, I think you filled me in on the nature of those trainings or modules, and yes, I am willing to complete them.
And if you intend to run for this board seat, or if you are appointed to this board seat, would your intent be to run for it in November, the 2022 election?
I am very clear, I'm not sure about that. I would like to get a sense of the lay of the land, what the board is working on, whether I feel like I could be a constructive voice and role in Williamston Public Schools. And I understand that I would need to make that decision by July, and I would look forward to a number of meetings that would happen before that would put me in a better position to make that decision.
Okay. And this next question is there anything else you would like us to know about you, or anything that you might not have put in your application that you'd like us to know now?
Can't think of anything.
All right, and that's okay. Okay, so next steps, we will be interviewing all the candidates tonight. Then we will have some discussion. If we can either come to an agreement on a candidate or narrow the pool, we will be letting the individual know and letting everybody else know. And if we do feel though that we need to bring some candidates back, then we will let everybody know probably by tomorrow what our next steps will be if that is the case.
Okay.
We do need to have this seat filled by March 24th. So you would be looking at kind of moving pretty quickly over the next week.
Okay. And I mean, would the next steps be via phone, Nancy, or would this be a face-to-face process?
It typically is a face-to-face process, but if people aren't available, then we can offer like how we're doing right now, depending on what the decision is later tonight.
I will be back in town by the end of the day, Sunday, the 20th, so I will be available for face-to-face activities if needed.
All right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you doing the interview this way.
Okay, good luck with your discernment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So the next part of our agenda is we're going to open it up to citizen comments. Typically during a board meeting, we have 2 opportunities for citizen comments. The first part is just for agenda items. The second part is open to anything. Seeing we only have it on the agenda once, we are going to open it to anything. So if you would like to address the board, you can come forward. I am going to ask that you stand at the table though, because that's where the mic is. Unless, Adam, do you want to move it?
Is anybody gonna talk?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, then I'll just move them.
So I'm going to ask you to state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes, and I will, at the 2-minute mark, I will give you a warning that you have 1 minute left. So, and I'm very sorry that I told you to stand at the table. He did move the mic to the podium. He's on fire tonight. On top of it.
Amy Kilgren, 549 Button Road. I just wanted to come up and say that I strongly recommend Jen Ironelli for this board position. I think she would be a great fit. She has children at all 3 grade levels, or have come through all 3 grade levels. And we've known each other. Our children are in similar grades. I just like to have someone fill this that has perspectives at every building level. The various perspectives, I think the needs and the concerns of the different buildings, the different teachers at the different buildings, the different students who all have different needs depending on age range. It's really nice. She also has a young one in elementary, so she's got that perspective, and then also has graduates that have come through. As a teacher myself, I think that's a really nice fit where you have people on the board that really can see from multiple perspectives at all the different buildings. I like that she's someone who's actively participating at the board meetings and knows what's going on currently within the school district, and has some understandings of the recent different things that have been discussed at the district level. And I feel like no one's going to have as strong of a vested interest in Williamston Community Schools than a parent who has children currently in the district. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz Malish, 797 East Sherwood Road. I'd like to speak as a parent that has 2 children in the district, and I would really like the board to highly consider Jennifer Iannarelli as well. I think she'd be a great asset to the board. She's a great leader, but at the same time, she's such a great team player as well. Being in the community for so long, she's really helped my family personally to really know what's going on with the district, what's going on in the community, and connecting us with resources. We've been here for 5 years, but that really doesn't seem like a long time, especially with just as long as she's been here. It's been a great resource for my family. I witnessed her participate in really tough conversations, and she's really able to listen with an open mind and help people find a solution. I feel like she's a really great mediator. So that I feel like that would be a great asset for the board, just to be able to work together as a team. And I also really appreciate her nutrition background. I have a nutrition background as well. My kids have food allergies, and I think that would be really great to have someone who's really on that could have better options at the school lunches. She's one of the most compassionate, empathetic people I've come to know in this area, and she cares deeply for the community and for the schools. I feel confident she would represent many parents and grandparents in our community, always putting children and education first. Lisa Movalson was not available to be here tonight, but she really wanted me to share the following. She's a Williamston resident as well, and a mother of 4. She wanted to say thank you for considering Jennifer for the new board position. She's a dedicated mother and cares about the well-being of all children in the district. She's a leader in the community and would bring family values and integrity to her seat on the board. I ask you to sincerely consider Jennifer for the position, as she represents many families in the community. And if I have enough time, Erin Merchant also wanted me to speak on her behalf. She's also a mother of 2 children. And she believes Jennifer would be a great asset to the school. Not only is she a mother of current children attending Williamston, but she also has older children. Therefore, she's had first-hand experience of the growth within our school district. Jennifer is well-balanced, experienced parent that will no doubt work collaboratively with everyone on the board to execute at the best interests of the students, staff, community, and the community members of Williamston. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So our next process, or our next step in this process, we are going to go around the table, and I'm going to ask you to state your first choice. That is going to be on the record. Betsy will indicate that in the minutes. I'm going to give everybody, does anybody need just a quick break while we review your information and go to the bathroom or get a drink or something? Or do you want to just keep going?
Yeah.
All right, I am going to give you a minute to read, if you need time to review all of the information we got. Do remember that this is, you know, we did get information when they brought in their letter of intent. We also sent out questions, so those are in the packet, and then this interview. So those three things are going to compile your first choice decision to narrow this pot at this time. Are we all set?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna start, I'm just gonna go around the circle. Betsy, Chris,
Deb Wolf.
Sarah,
Deborah Woolf,
Dave,
Deborah Woolf.
Amanda,
Chris Stopnick.
Julie,
Jennifer Iannarelli.
and I'm gonna go with Deb Wolf. So we've narrowed to Deb, Chris, and Jennifer. I will now open it up for any type of discussion about why you chose the candidate you did. If anybody wants to.
I can start.
Okay.
So I picked Jennifer. I mean, I was close to Taylor, was like my second pick. I didn't lean in the position of an educator because I was kind of taking the lead from the IISD last time when Amanda was on, and they had, I think, and I don't know the reason why they didn't choose an educator. I mean, they said specifically that we wanted to not choose an educator for that position. I know that there was 2 people that were on the board, but they did have Emily Bauk, who was a very well-educated teacher at MSU that they could have selected, and they still did not choose an educator. In my perspective, I think educators that sit on the board or people from should go through a vote process because it's very close with all the MEA and the, so to me, I just don't feel comfortable putting an educator. We have the education spectrum covered very well with 3 educators, a higher education, 2 lower education. So to me, I think Jennifer or Taylor would bring something more unique to the board of a position that we could use better in an opinion that we would not already have available. So.
It's almost amusing to hear Julie say that, because I had some of the same reasoning, and I was really swayed by our community members who were willing to serve. Really, I think that's wonderful, and they both have a great deal of experience that would be invaluable, but I felt swayed by input from the public, and that I think a lot of our parents would like to see someone that has children in the school district, so that was why Chris was my first choice, but Deborah was my second choice.
Anybody else? I'm kind of going this way. I can go. I chose Deb because she has connections with our senior population. And I feel like that's missing on the board. We haven't had someone besides Ernie Gaffner, and he's been gone quite a long time. So it wasn't as appealing that she was an educator. It's that she does have a pulse in our senior community, and that is a big percentage of our population that we're missing. And I know there are several, I don't know if there's several of us, am I the only one? There's 2 of us that don't have kids in school anymore, but I'm not, even though I'm probably considered a senior citizen right now because of my age, I'm still working. I don't have a pulse on that senior citizen population, and I do think we've talked about that in our trainings. Evan and I have had conversations about that. I think that's a piece that we're missing, and it was, this is an opportunity, even if it's a short time, whether she chooses to run or not, to kind of get her perspective on what is happening in our senior community and get that that connection that we're missing.
Echoing some of the things Nancy said, I also thought Deborah was very well organized in her thought process, had well thought through answers. I really like how she dug in on communicating with the parents, the staff, especially in regards to passing villages and talking to board members or to community members outside of board meetings around possibly unpopular decisions. Just thought she was well-rounded and experienced, the most coaching we spoke with.
I chose Deborah Woolf for many of the reasons that have already been emphasized. I reading through the attachments that she had with her cover letter, I feel that she's very involved in our community, and that does go to the senior population. We're always looking at ways that we can involve that group of constituents, how we can reach them, what they're thinking, how we communicate with them. I also looked at number 5 and number 6, and I thought that she was really thoughtful in her responses. And I think that while others, of course, have assets, I think that tapping into that senior population is one that has been missing or lacking on this board as of recently.
You know, as someone that's worked hard to try to communicate well and try to find new ways to communicate, that is the hardest population for us to communicate with. And we've tried very hard to expand that, to reach out. I chose Deb for many, just like what Sarah said, many of the same reasons. While she is an educator, I felt that does help, but it wasn't the main sway. For me, it was the involvement. I have seen her in the community for many years. Her husband is very involved in the community. She is very involved with the senior community, and all of those factors are ones that and I've seen how she interacts with people. She thinks deeply. I could tell that in her answers, but I've seen that just in the way that she organizes and things like that. And I think she'd be a quality member to the board.
Well, so I will add that I do agree that having a senior citizen perspective or having a senior citizen contact is crucial and would be crucial on the board. I still remember that she's only going to be here from now until November 8th, and I don't think we have anything as far as bonding or millages coming up between now and then. So I do kind of agree with Amanda that most important thing I think right now is if you do have somebody with children in the school, because coming back post-COVID to a wide open, I think is going to have a lot of knowledge of intricate in-school goings-ons and had experience of what has happened over the past 2 years. You know, and unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if we've had any, you know, if the senior citizen population at this point hasn't been involved. I mean, they're more than welcome to run and get voted in and go through that kind of thing, but I'm not sure if it's our job to appoint somebody based on what we specifically need or think that they're going to go out and do, because at this point, we don't have anything to send her out into the community to help convince people of, I think, you know. And if she's interested in being part of the community and with that thing, she's already going to be going out and doing that on our behalf if she supports our villages anyways. But that's just my rebuttal.
Well, we do have a Ruck millage that is coming up, so we will have to be talking about that.
And that's
Anyone who takes
3
this
years.
seat is going to have to run for the seat. Like, the term is only until, why can't I get this? November 2022. So we did have an opportunity to appoint a past board member. I didn't think that that was going to be in anybody's best interest. I wanted to see what the pool of candidates looked like. I think we got some, I honestly don't think we could go wrong with any of them. I think they were, everybody had a strong answer. You know, if one person was a little less for me in one question, they made up for it in another. I think that went through the whole thing. So for me, I do think it's important to have a senior citizen on this board to help us. It is a population we're missing, and if I had to, for that reason, narrow this pool down, that's just my reason for doing it.
Maybe I just need to be a little bit more clear in what I was saying. I think that it's more than just, yes, it is passing bonds and definitely and things like that, but it's also getting to that community and letting them know what we're doing, right? Like, that we have a school play coming up, that we had Evening of Jazz, that this sporting event is happening then, and did you hear about this at the elementary school at the STEAM lab? You know, it's more than just a voting issue. It's letting them know what is happening in case they are not aware.
Okay.
It was really refreshing and invigorating to see so many qualified candidates.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
that is what makes this, it does make it hard. but-
Especially when there's
Yes, it does.
districts that aren't getting any candidates to
Yes.
come out for school board,
There are,
school
there are
board
many
positions.
districts who do not have any, so
One right next to us.
they are,
So.
yes. So we are very, we are very fortunate that we have lots of people interested. New faces on the board is never a bad thing. Are we ready to make a motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to appoint Deborah Woolf to the position ending November 8th, 2022.
Do I have a second?
Does the position end November 8th or does it end 31st December?
No,
November 8th.
It would
Right
end
after the
November
election.
8th because the election is on the 7th, right?
So would there be nobody in that seat? until that's
No, so,
Or it would
clarifying-
end November 7th then.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the
Sorry.
day, whoever wins this seat, but let me be clear that everybody understands, it is only the remainder
Mhm.
of Jeff's seat, which I believe is 2 years.
Yeah.
So on the ballot, it will be, and whoever takes the seat could run for a 6-year term, but it will say, like, 2-year term, 6-year term. Vote 1, vote 2. So
Yep.
whoever wins this 2-year term would take over the responsibility of that seat immediately. The other 2 candidates, if they are not already on the board, would take over the seat in January.
Thank you. Apologize for that.
No,
Okay.
no. So I should amend mine and say November 7th, not November 8th. Right?
Actually, it's the certification of the election on November 7th, so it could potentially be a week or so after, so
Okay.
I would ask that you would
After the
say
certifying.
certification
Okay.
of the election.
Okay.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, so Chris has a motion on the table for Deborah Woolf. I'm sorry, I keep calling her Deb. I think she goes by Deborah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. This is a roll call vote, so I'm sorry, Amanda, I didn't prepare you for that.
Okay. Sorry, I like to do it the same way.
No, go ahead. I should have let you know this before we started, and I did not.
I should have.
And we had plenty of time.
We were waiting around.
Okay, because I like to follow alphabetical order with the chairman last. Just so everyone knows, I'm making it up. Amanda, yes. Chris,
Yes?
Dave,
Yes.
Julie,
No?
Sarah,
Yes.
and Nancy.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Passes
7
5
to
5.
No,
5
no.
to
5
1.
5-1.
5-1. All right.
Awesome. Look at that, and it's not 11. It's not 11.
It's not allowed.
Big-
I just want to emphasize a big thank you to everyone who put in for this seat, who took the time to interview. I know it's a process, but it is much appreciated. And like it was stated earlier, many other districts, these positions are hard to fill. And we had 7 people that came before us tonight that were, that had qualifications. And so I just wanted to make that known that it's appreciated by the board and your time.
Very much so.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Did you second?
I did, yes.
All right, so Julie first, Dave second, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? All right, good night, and thank you all.